There's no better feeling than a personal win, and the State Farm Personal Price Plan can help you do just that. Talk to a State Farm agent today to learn how you can bundle and save with the Personal Price Plan. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
Most tax pros leave a message.
It's Jane. I'm moving on to a TurboTax expert who beat your price. Adam Devine, tell him how I feel.
Hey, tax pro, she's been thinking twice. Best believe TurboTax will beat your price. This is a tax break.
Switch to a TurboTax Live expert and we'll beat what you paid your pro last tax season. Make the switch at TurboTax.com/beatyourprice. TurboTax full service only. Sign up by 12/20/2024 and file by 4/1/2025. Full details at TurboTax.com/beatyourprice.
Piece by piece.
Revolutionary artist Pharrell Williams invites you to Piece by Piece, a first-of-its-kind Lego movie event.
What if we told my story with Lego pieces?
Let's do it.
Discover what it takes to build the greatest hits with Kendrick Lamar, Jay-Z, Justin Timberlake, Pusha T, Gwen Stefani, and Snoop Dogg.
I was always a bad gangster, but you brought out the fun in me.
Hell yeah.
Piece by piece.
Get tickets now for Piece by Piece. Rated PG. Parental guidance suggested. Directed by Morgan Neville. Only in theaters October 11th.
Hey, it's Emily Wolfe, and you're listening to my weekly mixtape with Brian Colburn, and I hope you enjoy it.
Welcome to My Weekly Mixtape, a podcast that takes the classic mixtape approach to building a modern playlist. I'm your host, Brian Colburn. Joining me tonight as guest curator is the incredible singer-songwriter Emily Wolfe. Emily, thank you so much for joining me on the show tonight.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited. I love a mixtape, and I love an old version of a mixtape, so this is great.
Well, then you just leaned right into my first-time guest question, and that is, what does the word mixtape mean to you?
Oh my gosh. It means, well, when I think about a mixtape, I actually have a prop here with me, but when I first started recording myself, I had this tape recorder from the 90's.
Nice.
And a tape. And that was how I started recording myself in middle school and high school and stuff. And I would make my own mixtapes of my own stuff to see if it was any good. And then, yeah, I mostly burned CDs and stuff in high school. And after a while, they all kind of started to be the same song over and over again. I guess I'm a creature of habit, but yeah, I love a mixtape. It was like back when I was in high school and stuff, it was how you expressed all your emotions. You know, if you had a crush on somebody, you made them a mixtape or a mix CD or all that. And now it's playlist, which is fine, but I did enjoy the physical media part of that.
I have to say, when you gave somebody a mixtape or even a mix CD, that person knew you put some time into it, especially the cassette form, because that was real time. And if you were one of the high-end people who had the high-speed dubbers, maybe halftime. But with a playlist, sometimes I feel like you could just drag 10 songs onto it and send it out. It's like, how much thought really went into this?
Yeah, yeah. Were you thinking about this person for 10 seconds or 10 hours with trying to put an actual tape together, you know?
Well, tonight we're going to try to find a cross of that, and you and I are going to be co-curating a mixtape together with songs that we feel are the best 90s female rock songs out there. So what were you looking to bring to the table with your song choices for this evening?
Oh my gosh. I was looking to bring all of the female artists of the 90s that just exhibit their rage so gracefully, and there's no boundaries with their rage. Like the first song I picked was Seether by Veruca Salt, because that song is literally about female rage being right under the surface at all times. And yeah, it's, if somebody says 90s female rock, that's what I think of first.
And for me, it's definitely the rage, the angst. It's the time in my life where I felt like female musicians truly had their own voice. I felt like the female artists took it upon themselves to say, this is the kind of music that's out there. We're going to do it, and we're going to do it just as good as anybody else out there, and even better. And there were so many moments throughout the 90s that prove that point over and over again. I'm really excited to dive into this tonight.
Yeah.
So let's get down to business. Tonight, as I mentioned at the top of the show, Emily and I are going to be curating the ultimate 90s female rock mixtape, but we're going to use the old cassette deck approach. Emily, as my special guest, will begin side A with her first song choice, which she mentioned already, and then I'll add a song that I feel best follows up that choice. We'll then flip-flop choosing songs until we've mapped out 10 songs for side A. We'll then give our mixtape the proverbial flip, and we'll map out side B, only this time I'll kick things off with Emily choosing second. Our overall goal for this episode is to craft the best 90s female rock mixtape possible through only 20 songs. At the end of the show, you could take our conversation to the next level by visiting the episode page at myweeklymixtape.com to give our final mixtape a listen via the embedded playlist. And if you like what you're hearing on the show, you can help me out by either telling a friend, leaving the show a 5-star review wherever you're tuning in, or becoming a Patreon mixtaper at patreon.com/myweeklymixtape. There you can enjoy the show ad-free, chime in on upcoming topics, become a future guest, and so much more. And a few of the Patreon mixtapers chimed in with songs they would use to kick things off tonight, and I want to give a few quick shout-outs. Brandon from Virginia chimed in with Ani DeFranco's Shameless, Untouchable Face, or Dilate, saying her picking style and guitar tone was unprecedented, and that he saw her at the 930 Club in the late 90s with Maceo Parker, and he came out to jam on The Diner. Tom Hutchinson chimed in with Bikini Kill's Suck My Left One, saying Kathleen Hanna's energy is simply fantastic. Ben from the Too Vague podcast chimed in saying that this was a difficult topic because, as he put it, quote, the 90s were the decade that women rockers broke the glass ceiling, or at the very least, left it severely damaged. But he ended up choosing PJ Harvey's Down by the Water. Philip Bergman chimed in with Voice of the Beehive's Scary Kisses from their Sex and Misery album. Seeker from Australia couldn't decide between the Baby Animals' Early Warning or the Breeders' Cannonball. Jason Donchis chimed in saying we can't have this list without Liz Phair's Supernova, but he's also a fan of Poe's Trigger Happy Jack. Chris Pazika chimed in with both the Cranberries' Zombie and No Doubt's Just a Girl. Sean Goff chimed in saying he agreed that there were so many great options for this topic tonight, but he chose Not an Addict by Kay's Choice. And finally, Chad Lamassa was going to chime in with Garbage's Stupid Girl, but Emily, when he saw that you were going to be the guest tonight, as a bit of synergy here, he changed his pick to Veruca Salt's Seether because it leans more towards the guitar. Once again, if you'd like to chime in for future My Weekly Mixtape episodes, come join the fellow mixtapers at patreon.com/myweeklymixtape. Now, Emily, we know your first song is Veruca Salt's Seether, just the way Chad Lamassa chimed in with. Let's hear why you're kicking things off with that track tonight.
Great. Yeah. You know what? I chose this song because it is one of those songs that could come out today and it would be relevant and make sense just forever. I think it's an amazing song. It's one of my favorites. I love the guitar tones. I love Louise Post. Actually, one time I gave Louise Post a guitar because her trailer got stolen on tour and she was rolling through Austin. Yeah. And I know her drummer, and he texted me and he said, hey, all of our gear got stolen. Do you happen to have an SG for Louise Post? And I was like, dude, I have got one. Yes. So I brought an SG to her, and it was like such a cool moment because Veruca Salt, they have such an impact on my music, especially my latest record. But yeah, this song is everything to me in terms of 90s female rock.
Couldn't agree more. It reached number 8 on the US Billboard Modern Rock Tracks chart and also charted in Australia and the UK, written by the incredible Nina Gordon, who I would have also thought to include some stuff from her solo album, Tonight and the Rest of My Life, but it came out in 2000, so alas, did not make the cut. I mean, how could you not love a band who has an EP named Blow It Out Your Ass, It's Veruca Salt? Like, that is the vibe we're going for tonight.
Yeah.
And in a little bit of synergy, it's been shown love over the years as the band Seether covered the song Seether on their Greatest Hits album. If you really want to hear a gender-flipped reimagining of the track. So once again, shout out to Patreon mixtaper Chad Lamassa, who also chimed in with this one. Chad has seen you perform recently in Maryland, and he had mentioned to me that you might remember him as he's the guy who has your Wolfe shirt tattooed on his arm.
Oh, yeah, Chad. That's awesome. Dang. What's up, Chad? Yeah, that guy rules.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's a huge supporter of the show. He loves your music. And he was the one who said, hey, Brian, if there's any chance you can ever get Emily Wolfe on the show, I'm like, dude, I'm going to make it happen. I love her music. Let's make this happen. So
that's awesome. Yeah.
I'm excited that this is happening tonight. And following up Veruca Salt, I have to give another Patreon shout out because Seeker chimed in with this one. And I've talked about this song 5 times in 90 episodes of my weekly mixtape. And there's a reason for that. When a song is just iconic to the point that you hear a second of a bass line and you immediately know the song, it just is embedded in my musical DNA. The first time I heard the opening bass line to the Breeders' Cannonball, I was immediately sucked in. As a bass player myself, I mean, Kim Deal's vocals are amazing. Don't get me wrong. It's powerful. It kicks through the song, the distortion, the energy, the power. But Josephine Wiggs' bass line is just so iconic. It's a perfect snapshot of early 90s rock. The song reached number 44 on the US Billboard Hot 100. And I have to admit, I love seeing modern artists who are having their major moment showing love to artists who helped them get there, because Olivia Rodrigo brought the Breeders out on tour this year for their 30th anniversary of Last Splash. And that's introducing the Breeders to a brand new generation of people who definitely didn't experience them the first time around. So I absolutely love when things like that happen.
Yeah, me too. That's awesome. I think Olivia Rodrigo also covered Seether.
Did she?
Like at a show? Yeah, because I went and saw them and I noticed a lot of Gen Zers. I was like, what is this? And then, a buddy was like, oh yeah, no, Olivia Rodrigo covered Seether, which is awesome. So that's great. But yeah, that bass line in Cannonball, I also love that it mimics a drum part just so completely. So it's like got so much rhythm and it's like, it's just like so cool. And the tone of it, I don't think there's any other song that I know where it's like the bass line is just the coolest part of the song,
And as a bass player, for me, that just puts a little extra smile on my face because let's be honest, the bass players don't always get the love. And when there's a bass line that's so iconic that decades later we're still talking about it, bravo.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so now you get to follow up a 1-2 punch of Veruca Salt, Seether, and the Breeders' Cannonball. How do we keep this energy going?
You got to keep it going with Tracy Bonham, Mother, Mother.
Yes.
That song is crazy. It is so wild. Just like the first part of it, just acoustic strumming, and like then out of nowhere, it's just like band, like the tension is broken and you didn't even expect it. And it's like the most climactic chorus. It's so cool.
The entire album, 1996's The Burdens of Being Upright, is amazing. But to me, this might be one of the most visceral screams of the decade. The Everything's Fine. I mean, I actually heard that she had to cancel some shows on her tour because she blew her voice out and had to learn how to scream it properly so she could do it night after night and be able to deliver it, because you listen to that album and that cuts through your soul, that scream. You feel it. And the song topped the U.S. Modern Rock Tracks chart in the U.S. and also charted in Australia, Canada, and New Zealand, among several other countries. Interesting fact about Mother, Mother. It was the last song by a female solo artist to top that chart until Lord's Royals in 2013, as the Modern Rock Tracks chart was then renamed to the Billboard Alternative Songs chart. So there was almost a 20-year span where a female artist didn't top the chart.
Wow. That is wild. I did not know that.
And way too long, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, for sure.
But to follow that, I'm going to bring down the visceralness, if that's even a word, just a little bit. And I'm going to bring up a song that I had the honor back on episode 44 of diving into a lot deeper than I'm going to go into tonight. But off of their 1993 album, Aurora Borealis, we have to go with Letters to Cleo, Here and Now. A lot of people were introduced to this song via the Melrose Place soundtrack, but if you were into the indie punk scene in 1993, you were already familiar with this. Kay Hanley joined me for episode 44, and we did a deep dive into Aurora Borealis, as well as all the amazing things she has done in music, all the way from the 10 Things I Hate About You soundtrack, Josie and the Pussycats, Star Trek. She has done so much for music. I just highly suggest going back and listening to that episode if you want to hear more about Letters to Cleo. A completely underrated band in the 90s. How they weren't massive blows my mind, because consistency straight through every album, every song. And Kay is just an absolute delight.
Yeah. Letters to Cleo is super underrated. I first heard Letters to Cleo actually on a radio station. I was like, what is this? How come I have never heard this before? And yeah, I loved it. I think it was Cruel to Be Kind is what I heard on the radio. But yeah, Here and Now is an incredible song too. Very underrated.
So how do we follow that up?
Oh, Whole, Celebrity Skin. Yes. One of my favorite recordings ever. I don't know what it is. It's just like something about the sonics and the tones, and like the bass tone is huge. I think they used like some kind of like sub-octaver, like rack mount sub-octaver for that bass. Cause it's like, if you really like chime into it, it's just like, there's so much sub bass. And then all the guitars just fill in this mid-range so well. And it's so sarcastic and just so great. I love that song.
Reached number 85 on the Billboard US Hot 100. Personally, I thought it would have been a lot higher than that, but it did top the US alternative airplay charts and also charted in Australia, Canada, Europe, France, and a bunch of other countries. Easily their most commercially successful track, and it's been in countless movies, TV shows, and video games. Believe it or not, the song was co-written by Billy Corgan of the Smashing Pumpkins. He's the one who Courtney Love said came up with the guitar riff for the song. So that's a pretty cool collaboration. And then while we're talking female-fronted rock acts, the band Garbage, the lyrics from Celebrity Skin actually inspired the name of their third album, Beautiful Garbage. Came from the lyrics of Celebrity Skin.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
yeah. Wow. Cool.
So there's a lot of love going on between some of the artists we're talking about tonight. And I'm going to guess we're not going to get through 20 songs without talking about Garbage. But for sure. Now, we haven't talked about them yet. But to follow that up, I want to bring a little bit of the punk side of things into this.
Yeah.
And when I think of female punk in the 90s, one of the first bands that comes to my mind are the Muffs. But I'm not going to go off their self-titled. As much as I love that song, I could have easily gone with Lucky Guy or Big Mouth. I love that album. A movie that really resonated with me in the 90s was a movie called Angus. And that soundtrack was something that I played nonstop when I was in college. And along with the Angus soundtrack, this song was also featured on their 1995 album, Blonder and Blonder. And the song is called Funny Face. Kimberly Shattuck had such a unique voice.
Yeah.
Such a distinct voice. There was a gravel to it, but also a beauty and a softness to it.
Yeah.
And I think, because we talked about them before, there's an amazing acoustic cover that Kim performed with both Nina Gordon and Louise Post of Veruca Salt prior to Kim's tragic passing from ALS. And the three of them harmonizing on that song together, I literally have the hair on my arm standing up with goosebumps just talking about it. I'm going to embed the performance on the episode page at myweeklymixtape.com because hearing those three voices together is just absolute perfection to me. And yeah, we have to talk Funny Face tonight.
Yeah. Such an interesting song. And yeah, like I watched that acoustic cover and it was so crazy. Like just, I don't know. I wish that I knew the right word for this song because it's like, it almost like pokes fun at pain for some, I don't know if that makes a lot of sense, but it's just like Funny Face. I mean, it's like, you know, not taking things as seriously as you may feel them, I guess. But yeah, the Muffs, that's another one that I heard on a radio station along with Letters to Cleo. I was like, what is this? How come I haven't heard this before? You know?
Of course.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's a great choice.
Thank you. So now I'm going to throw it back to you. We are up to track 7 on side A.
Great. I went with Sheryl Crow, If It Makes You Happy, which I know that, you know, Sheryl Crow's less grunge than a lot of these songs, but those lyrics are grunge as hell if you really listen to them, because the first verse doesn't really make sense. And then she straight up says like, well, I'm just making this up. and then she like, I don't know. It's just very like middle finger, but it's also really beautiful, which I think it's one of my favorite things in a song is when the lyrics are a little bit juxtaposed with the music. I think it makes things really interesting.
That it does. From her 1996 eponymous release, reached number 10 on the Billboard US Hot 100, number 9 on the UK singles chart, and number 1 on Canada's top singles chart. Also a hit in Australia, Germany, Europe, France, and several other countries. Shockingly, though, If It Makes You Happy was Sheryl Crow's final top 10 solo hit in the US. And you'd think about all the hits she had after that. Soak Up the Sun only reached number 17. The First Cut Is the Deepest only reached 14. The only other time she cracked the top 10 after If It Makes You Happy was with Kid Rock and the Picture duet. To me, that makes zero sense. And this is my all-time favorite Sheryl Crow song. It checks off all the boxes for me, musically, emotionally, lyrically. When my band Colburn and Company jams on this track, I absolutely cheat because our female singer does the verses and I love the lyrics so much. I actually half-step harmonize the verses, even though they don't belong. I just love the song so much. I just enjoy adding that little layer because people don't expect to hear it, and it's a lot of fun. And the song just, it gets you in the feels. It really does.
Yeah. Yeah. There's like a defeat in the lyrics. And it's like one of those types of defeat that you're like, yeah, I've been there. I know what you're talking about. Great song.
And I'm going to follow up that defeat with another song that Colburn and Company performs. It's probably one of my favorite songs of the 90s. And when we talk about underrated, this band, I think, has to be in discussion. Yes, they've had hits. And this song reached number 19 on the Billboard US Hot 100, number 4 on Canada's top singles chart, and number 2 in Australia. It also topped the Billboard US Modern Rock Tracks chart. However, it's the only song to crack the US Hot 100 for Concrete Blonde, and that is Joey from 1990's Bloodletting. That makes zero sense to me. God is a Bullet, Someday, their cover of Leonard Cohen's Everybody Knows from the Pump Up the Volume soundtrack. To me, it's shocking that this band wasn't massive. Jeanette Napolitano has such a unique and distinct voice. I can't fathom how the label didn't get behind them more, because this song is just, every time it's on, it stops me dead in my tracks.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. It's like, I feel like this song should have been as big as like, what's that Police song? The big Police song.
Every Breath You Take?
Yeah, yeah. It's
Mhm.
got like I don't know. Like to me, it feels like it should have been that big.
This is the kind of song that if you were to bust out a cover at one of your shows, I would love to hear your rendition of, because I feel like your voice really could channel that energy and that angst that she brings through in that song, but also the depth and the vulnerability that the song shares, I feel like is something that you could really hone. Not that I'm throwing cover song ideas out there.
You know what? I'm going to do it. That's an awesome idea. And I love that song. And I'm so glad that you mentioned that. Because, like, yeah, the line where she says, like, if you're hurting, so am I. God, it just gets me every time. You
100%.
know? It's just an amazing song. And her voice. And she played bass too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
More love for bassists. I love
know
it.
a lot of bass. Honestly, dude, 90s bass tones, the best tones. I love 90s bass.
Agreed. All right. Well, we now each have one song left for side A. What do you have for track 9?
Track 9. We got to Garbage finally.
All right.
Yeah. Only Happy When It Rains. One of my favorite Garbage songs. I love this song. Yeah. It's just like admitting, like, yeah, I kind of like when things hurt. You know, I'm not afraid to admit it. And just the vocal take is amazing. I just love that vocal take.
This song is an absolute, I use this term a lot, but this song is a vibe.
Yeah, it sure is.
They captured what Butch Vig was able to put together with Garbage and the talent that he had in that group. And then you add Shirley's perfect voice for the landscape that is the music bed underneath this song. Pour Your Misery Down on Me. It just works so perfectly. It's the follow-up to Stupid Girl. Personally, and I might piss off some Garbage fans here, but I think it's the better of the two. Reached number 55 on the Billboard US Hot 100. Also charted in Australia, the UK, and Canada. Not a top 40 hit. Absolute mistake. I mean, this song has been covered by everyone from Hailstorm to New Year's Day to Metallica, who covered the song acoustically at the 2007 Neil Young Bridge School Benefit Show.
Wow.
If Metallica is taking time out of their set to acoustically reimagine a song, you know this song has hit on a different level. And I think this is a perfect example of why that is. This song is just amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and classic too. Every time it comes on, I don't know. I just think if this was their debut song right now today, people would be all about it. You know,
Still
I just
be
feel
it.
like, yeah, totally. It's just
Timeless.
that good. Mm-hmm.
And now I'm going to close out side A with a song that I also feel is timeless, but this is going to be one that might draw some eyebrows because, believe it or not, some critics have rated this song poorly, which I am going to disagree with at the highest level. And we're going to go back to 1992 and their album Bigger, Better, Faster, and More. And I'm going to go with Four Non Blondes' What's Up to close out side A. Reached number 14 on the Billboard US Hot 100, but it was number 1 in a dozen countries, including Ireland, Germany, Austria, Norway, and Sweden, among others. It's a worldwide hit.
Wow.
Modern country artist Lainey Wilson, who's a country artist I am a huge fan of, covered the track on her 2022 album Bell Bottom Country. So the song is still getting love. Linda Perry is a pop songwriting force. She's penned hits for Pink, Christina Aguilera, Celine Dion, Alicia Keys, Miley Cyrus, Gwen Stefani, and she's also written rock songs for Cheap Trick, Unwritten Law, and like you mentioned before, Hole, Courtney Love. To me, What's Up was the tip of the iceberg for Linda Perry's songwriting. And this song actually holds a little bit of a personal meaning for me when I think back to when I first got the song on cassette. I was on a road trip from New Jersey to Maine, and we stopped off at a gas station, and there just happened to be a Coconuts music store across the street from the gas station. So I asked my parents if I can run across the street and grab a couple of cassette singles from my Walkman, and they were kind enough to give me because they had the 3 for $10 cassette single sale.
Cool.
And I grabbed Four Non Blondes, What's Up, The Proclaimers, I Would Walk 500 Miles, and DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, Boom Shake the Room. And we played What's Up probably 500 times in the car over and over again. For me, it's the summer of 1993 encapsulated in cassette form. I love her voice. I love her songwriting. And I know the song gets put on these worst song ever lists, and I just don't get it. I just don't get it.
Yeah. It's so interesting because people who love this song love it with every fiber of their being. People who hate the song hate it so much. And it's really interesting how divided people are on it, because it's like, to me, the melody of the vocal part of the song is so beyond fearless that I can't even explain like how. I mean, she goes all over the scale. It's like crazy where she goes. And then in the chorus, there's like a big release, like that big, like way, like just out there. And I think that's cool. I've always thought it's cool how fearless her melodies are.
Amen. And that, Mixtapers, concludes side A of the ultimate 90s female rock mixtape, which consists of Veruca Salt's Seether, The Breeders' Cannonball, Tracy Bonham's Mother Mother, Letters to Cleo, Here and Now, Hole's Celebrity Skin, The Muffs' Funny Face, Sheryl Crow's If It Makes You Happy, Concrete Blonde's Joey, Garbage, Only Happy When It Rains, and Four Non Blondes, What's Up. Head over to myweeklymixtape.com to hear all the songs we've discussed in this mix through the playlist embedded on the episode page. Now, before we flip our proverbial mixtape over to side B, I'd like to take some time, Emily, to dive into your latest album, The Blowback, which is about to celebrate its 1-year anniversary.
Yeah.
In the mini documentary you produced, you personally referred to The Blowback sonically as aggressive rock that pushes the boundaries on things that you want to say, which is very similar to a lot of the music we've been talking about this evening. And I think that mindset starts right from the jump with the album opening track, Silencer. Now, on your Bandcamp page, you wrote, "This whole chapter is about owning your spirit." And with that, you opted to self-produce the album to, quote, realize it fully. Can you talk about what that undertaking meant for you as an artist, and maybe how your experiences with past producers like Michael Schumann maybe helped you realize this vision on your own?
Yeah. You know, I think it was like one of those fork in the road moments in my life where I could have gone with Tony Visconti, could have produced this record. Sharon Von Etten could have produced this record. I could have gone with Michael Schumann again. But there was this, I don't know, this thing kind of eating away at me saying, these songs are going to be entirely different if somebody else produces them. If it's got to be you, because you owe that to the songs, because they came out of me so quickly and so efficiently. And it just felt like one of those spiritual things that's like, you have to put this out the way that you envision it. And if a producer jumps on board, they're going to change lyrics and they're going to change parts and arrangements. And in the past, I was open to that. But for some reason, for this record, I just was not, because it was such an intense process to write this record. And it was like, I don't know, I'm the most proud I've ever been of a record with this record. You know, I got to pick every guitar tone and every pedal and every vocal take and like which bass to use, which DI to use. So everything was my decision. And it was so empowering because I was at a point where I felt extremely powerless and I needed to essentially step into that role to prove to myself that I could have power in my own career and life. And it was a healing experience. And yeah, one of the best experiences I've ever had. And that's not to say, you know, I don't think I'll ever work with a producer again. I think now that I've done that, I can move on and kind of be okay with someone else helping and taking the reins in future projects. And now I know, like, well, I can do that and I can do it successfully. And it was a blast.
Well, I want to dive into something you were just talking about there because you mentioned something about tone. I think it's safe to say you're kind of a gearhead given your recent interview with Gibson, which spotlights your, I'm going to call it glorious pedal board. Okay. I'm still trying to personally absorb the full setup you've got going on. And for those listening who haven't seen this video yet, I'll embed it on the episode page at myweeklymixtape.com. But before I ask my next question, I want to play my personal favorite guitar solo from the album, and that's taken from the track High Crime.
Oh, thanks.
So Emily, with all the gear you've incorporated into your setup over the years, how do you hone in on the sound that's best going to suit whatever track you're recording? Because personally, I would imagine finding that perfect tone could end up being a daunting task at times, especially when you're the one self-producing it. It almost might become a part of, let me track this with 7 different guitars and 27 different tones and see which one works the best. Can you walk me through that part of the recording process?
Yeah. Well, I packed up every pedal I own for this whole recording process with the Blowback, and there's a lot of pedals. I love pedals so much. And so I packed them all up in a big bag. And luckily, you know, I know what they all do and what they all sound like. And it's interesting because whenever I pick a tone, like for this record, for me, it's like I can feel a tone. I guess I'm not sure if that makes sense, but like, so for instance, the guitar tone in High Crime is a mini Fender amp that's battery powered. And I went line out into a vibro champ. So wow. I was taking like the solid state, like just bad tone of that into a really nice vibro champ. And because there's a feeling that I get when I play through that little Fender, and it kind of, if I close my eyes, it puts me in this like weird solitude. And when I picture where I'm at, it's like in the dark woods and there's trees. And so like, I don't really know how to explain it other than that tone is very woody and very tight, like a tree. And so I kind of go at it from like an oddly cinematic angle. Like there's some kind of like, I guess, vision in my head with a tone. And it's like, does that match where I'm at right now? If not, I got to try something different. And sometimes I just kind of know like, oh yeah, that's the tone. Like if I want to say with a guitar solo that I feel so bizarre right now, I have no idea what I'm feeling, I got to pick a really weird tone, you know, something with a lot of just harsh mid-range and like, I don't know, just weird honk, you know, like the bridge pickup of a telly or something. And yeah, I kind of just, I don't know. I think I've researched gear so much and played everything and gone through so many tone journeys over the years that I kind of can look at a guitar and be like, yeah, I know what that's going to say and what that's going to make me feel, you know, like a P90 it's going to make me feel very high strung. And then a humbucker is going to make me feel right at home, especially on a 335. But that's kind of it. It's very based on feeling.
And is that something where when you're in the studio and you're recording these songs, if you're not capturing the feeling that you're looking for, because watching that documentary, which I said will be embedded on the episode page, there were moments where you did things to try to incorporate the feeling you were looking to emote in the song, at one point actually wrapping your body in tape to capture the vocal performance that you wanted to share. Is that something that brings you deeper into the song to a point where it connects you more with whatever you're trying to get out of that performance?
Yeah, for sure. Like, yeah, it's funny. People are like, why did you do that? And I'm like, well, it's because when I first wrote that song Silencer, I felt very suffocated by my emotions and very trapped. And so because I was producing this record and because I was also the artist, it's, the only thing that I knew to do was, how do I possibly make myself feel the same way I did when I first wrote this song so I can capture exactly what I'm trying to do? And I couldn't afford a straitjacket. I couldn't have, those are actually really expensive. So I got my buddy to just tape me really tight with gaff tape, and it worked. And it was very, very suffocating and claustrophobic, but the take turned out really great. And it was fun too. It was just weird. And, that's another part of producing my own record that was fun, is I got to try everything I ever wanted to do, like I taped a microphone to a remote control car at one point and drove it around the studio just to see what would happen. And yeah, it was fun. It was just a lot of fun.
Well, this past summer, you had the chance to share the stage with, to me at least, local heroes, or to the rest of those listening, New Jersey's own Gaslight Anthem, for some shows on their European tour. Now, across Gaslight's catalog, they cover a lot of ground musically, lyrically, and in the case of Brian Fallon's singing style, vocally, all three of which are traits that I hear when I listen to the Blowback from start to finish. For example, if we were to compare the clip we played earlier of High Crime to the clip I'm going to play now from Dead End Luck. Talk about your takeaways from those Gaslight Anthem shows, because when I saw you were opening for them, my initial thought was, that bill's perfect, because musically, solely based on that quote unquote covering musical ground concept, there couldn't have been a more perfect pairing of artists.
Oh, yeah. It's pretty funny. I mean, I'm in my studio right now looking at a picture of me and Brian because we're good buddies now. And yeah, he has always been one of my influences because he does whatever he wants musically. He's not in a box. And for me, I write based on what I feel, and I don't feel, blues every day. I don't feel pop every day. I don't feel one genre. And so, I mean, I love his style because he's got a very similar kind of approach to emotive singing that like Jeff Buckley does to me. And that's one of those things about the mixtape that we've made together is I feel like the women who front these bands feel pain in a way that is kind of unlike anyone else. And to me, Brian gets there when he sings. And it was cool to see that every night because I toured with them, let's see, a couple of years ago and then this past year. And it was just amazing to watch somebody go there every night. And it was inspiring. And it kind of gave me permission to just not feel bad about going all over the place with my songwriting.
Well, speaking of that, lyrically, this album takes a different approach compared to some of your earlier releases, such as the track Walk in My Shoes.
Walk in my shoes, walk in my shoes, get me going shoes, I don't wanna play anymore. My shoes, walk in my shoes, see what you lose, and if you won't play anymore. As you go to the highest chords, you always have a world away. I got the kind that can tear me up, but the chips are falling where they lay.
Now, as a father of two young ladies myself, a teenager and a preteen, lyrics like, unless you're dealt all the highest cards, you're always half a world away. I got the kind that could tear me up, but the chips have fallen where they may. That section stopped me in my tracks, and the first time I heard the song, I immediately had to go back and play that section of the song a second time just so I could fully realize the gravity of those lyrics. Was it cathartic for you to push those lyrical boundaries for the songs on this album?
Yeah, it was. And it was a challenge too, because with that one, I knew I had something really special. And what I did with Walk in My Shoes is I vomited lyrics onto a page and I was like, okay, these are fine, but I feel like what I'm trying to say, I need to put more effort in. So I I went back and I wrote a second pass and they were getting better, wrote a third pass. They were getting okay, and then by the fourth pass, it was like, okay, these are perfect now for me. I consider these perfect. So yeah, that bridge was something that I was really proud of. And I'm glad that you noticed and think that too. But yeah, it's true. I mean, if you're born a woman, especially, a LGBTQ woman like me, it's not easy. And a lot of times I do always kind of, I feel like I'm very much on the outside looking in. And it was really therapeutic to write that. And especially what I noticed is interesting about it is a lot of men hear that and they're like, oh, that's really interesting. And I'm like, wow, maybe I really did do something here. Maybe I really did change some people's mentalities out there, hopefully, because that was the purpose of the lyrics here, was to kind of get people to tap into their empathy, and realize that, you can't really choose how you're born or, how you enter the world. So, if I'm a Black American, if I'm a Black woman, if I'm a gay Hispanic man, it's like I have my own challenges and I'm born with those and I had no choice. And so Walk in My Shoes is very much like an anthem for like hoping to bring people together based on like empathy for one another.
Empathy is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Now, when you're out on the road and you've got the Blowback, which is the album you're currently promoting, how do you strike a balance both musically and thematically in your set lists? Because you also have your 2019 self-titled album and 2021's Outlier, which include a lot of songs that fans of yours want to hear. How do you strike a balance?
That's tough for me. It's hard because like I'm always torn between, okay, here's what I want to play, but here's what I know they might want to hear. And then I have to kind of compromise between it. Like if I want to play Silencer, I got to balance it out with, something like White Collar Whiskey or something like that. Because to me as a fan and a concert goer, if I go see somebody and they don't play what I want to hear, it's a bummer. So I don't want to do that to people. And so I got to kind of, okay, I got an hour here. I'll play half of what I really want to play and half of what I think they want to hear. So I try and do both as best I can. Sometimes I get people saying, you didn't play this song. And I'm like, okay, next time I'll do it. And then I put it back in the set, so yeah, it's definitely a balance. But I think overall, like a concert experience is not just for me. Obviously, it's 99% for the crowd. So if they're paying for a ticket, I want to give them what they want to hear.
Awesome. Now, if you don't mind, I have one other question because I am a cover song fanatic. And in 2022, you released a cover song of one of my favorite 80s tunes, and that's your rendition of Til Tuesday's Voices Carry.
In the dark, I like to read her mind. But I'm frightened of the things I might find. Oh, there must be something she's thinking of. Tell her away. When I tell her that I'm falling in love, why does she say?
I would love to hear the story behind why you chose that cover because, again, I just love my cover songs. It's something I talk about on every episode of my weekly mixtape, and I thought it would be a perfect chance to hear a story behind the cover.
Yeah. Well, you know what's crazy is like that song, it's weird because everybody knows it, but they don't know. They can't say, oh, that's Til Tuesday. Oh,
Right.
that's Amy Mann. They're like, oh yeah, I remember this song in the dentist office in the 90s or something. Like I don't know when I think we were on the road and it came on a playlist and I was like, holy shit, this is a killer song. And I never even realized it because I knew it and I loved it. But when I really listened to the lyrics, it's like, oh my God, these lyrics are amazing. And the guitar part's amazing. And like the synth that reinforces the lead guitar is killer. And I was like, I just want to play it. Like, so I did a cover and it was so much fun to recreate it. And it's funny because like the same year I released it, I did this benefit show and Amy Mann was the headliner. And I got to meet her right before I played and she was like, are you going to play Voices Carry? And I was like, what? I cannot play your own song at your headlining benefit. But it was cool to meet her. And I decided to not do that because that's crazy to me to play her song. But yeah, it was cool. And to me, Amy Mann in the 80s, iconic, just the coolest style. Like that is what cool is to me. Like the oversized jean jackets and the hair and just I think she played bass too. Another bass player.
No, there we go. It's bass synergy tonight on my weekly mixtape.
Yeah. But yeah, I did it because I love it so much.
Awesome. So now we're flipping this proverbial mixtape over to side B and I'm going to kick things off and I'm going to go a little bit different for my first choice. And this is actually the third time I'm choosing this song for a My Weekly Mixtape playlist. And damn it, I'll choose it a fourth time if I can get a chance because it's just one of those songs that it rocks and yet you kind of want to dance to it. It's a stadium anthem, but there's a guitar riff that's undeniable. And Saffron's vocals from Republica's Ready to Go from their self-titled 1996 album lend themselves to this unique crossover, which was unlike anything I'd ever heard in the decade. This band had two hits from that album, Drop Dead Gorgeous, which reached number 93 on the US Billboard Hot 100, and then Ready to Go reached number 56, wasn't a top 40 hit, but was inescapable in 1996 and is inescapable in 2024 because go to a football game, go to a baseball game. This song is playing. This is a stadium anthem. But there's just something about it that you could play it in a dance club and you could play it in a rock band and it'd work in both places. And there's just a uniqueness to it that I absolutely love. So Republic is ready to go to kick off side B. Plus, Ready to Go feels like a kickoff song.
Yeah. This song's awesome. I don't know. It's just like, it's one of those hits because at some point in your life, everybody's ready to go, do something. So it's like, no matter what, you can just throw it on when you're ready to go. I'm ready to go to the grocery store, or I'm ready to go kill this day, or I'm ready to go win the championship. It's just like genius to me that it's so simple and it's so clear. And yeah, it just gets me pumped every time I hear it.
All right. So what are we going to go with for track 2?
Garbage, number 1, Crush.
Oh,
Yeah.
A double dose of garbage in this episode. All right.
Amazing. I would die for you is like the most amazing lyric. It's just like it's so intense and it's like so much. And I love it because it just goes so deep because that is just so fearless. Like that she's going to say what everybody is scared to say about their crush. Like, I would die for you. Like that is incredible to me.
1996's Romeo and Juliet. I was working at a record shop around that time, and I feel like this was one of those soundtracks that almost eclipsed the popularity of the movie itself. Between number 1 Crush, Love Fool by the Cardigans, Local God from Everclear, and Talk Show Host by Radiohead, this was a soundtrack that everyone needed to get their hands on. This was originally released as a B-side to their single Vow, but then remixed for the soundtrack where it topped the Billboard US Alternative Airplay chart and Canada Rock and Alternative chart. Shocked it didn't make the self-titled album because this is just a perfect garbage track.
Yeah, the drums, love the drums in this song.
Butch Vig was a master. It is a master, not was.
Yeah.
Is a master.
Yeah. True. Yeah, killer song.
So to follow that up for track 3, we got almost this little bit of a groove going here. It's a little dancier than side A. So I'm going to lean into that and go with a bit of a controversial pick. Because yes, this song is a bit more Britpop than rock. But to me, Britpop has always, sorry, I can't resist, blurred the lines when you think about bands like Blur and Oasis, Britpop. But this track has controversy on top of that. And this is Elastica's Connection from their 1995 self-titled album. Reached number 53 on the Billboard US Hot 100, as well as number 17 in the UK, with the highest peak being number 9 on Canada's top singles chart. However, the main guitar riff is strikingly similar to Wire's Three Girl Rumba, to the point where an out-of-court settlement was reached and the songwriting credits were changed. But regardless of all of that, I just adore Justine Frischman's voice on the track. And to me, 1995 was my senior year in high school. So this song was just a snapshot of that year for me. And it keeps that kind of dance rock vibe that you're getting from Republica and Garbage. It kind of keeps that vibe going.
Yeah, and it's like, have you seen the video?
Oh, yeah.
The music video? Video's cool. It's just them just staring at you. It's awesome.
They're looking into your soul.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a killer song.
All right. Track 4, we're back to you.
Oh my gosh, another Veruca Salt, Volcano Girls.
Perfect.
Yeah. This one is another one that's heavily inspired me. I just love the sarcasm in it. And I love like there's like immense power underneath this like kind of kitschy, like little lady pop thing going on. And then it's just I don't know. There's so much rage underneath it, and I love it. It's like you just peel back layer after layer with this song.
1997's Eight Arms to Hold You. For me, this is my personal favorite Veruca Salt song. So when you chose Seether, I had this in my bank and I was like, oh, I guess we're not going to get to it. But here we are. Reached number 8 on the Billboard Modern Rock Tracks chart and number 4 on the Canada Alternative 30 chart. It also charted in Sweden, Australia, and the UK. What else needs to be said about Veruca Salt? We've talked about them several times tonight already, but God, I'm stoked we're including this one tonight along with Seether because the callback to Seether in Volcano Girls just works so well. How often does a band call back their hit from their like that's something
That's
that
cool.
never happened before, and that just shows such a swagger to it. It's a musical chef's kiss.
Yeah,
Because
you're right.
you love the original, but here's the new hit. But guess what? We're going to give you a little taste of the original just to take it over the top. It literally is a Spinal Tap 11 moment for me.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's like, oh shit. Yeah, no, I love that. And then I love the lyrics too. Like, I don't want to go. You know, that's so cool that they just said it. I don't want to go. Like, it's awesome.
Well, I'm going to follow that up with what can only be described as a flying giant friction blast, an alternative rock ode to sex from 1994's Whip Smart, Liz Phair's Supernova. Reached number 78 on the Billboard US Hot 100, number 59 on Canada's top singles, and number 43 in Australia. Song was nominated for a Grammy for Best Female Rock Performance in 1995. Inescapable on radio, and what might come as a surprise to some people, because I'll be honest, when I was reading up on this song, it shocked me. Supernova was not Liz Phair's highest charting single. That would actually go to Why Can't I from her 2003 self-titled album.
Wow.
Exactly. I had no idea. I was like, what? How the hell is Supernova not her biggest charting hit? Why
That's
can't I
wild.
chart it higher? But regardless, this is a 90s mixtape, so Supernova had to be in the fold. Shout out to Patreon mixtaper Jason Donchis, who also chimed in with this one. A classic. Absolute classic.
Yeah, classic. I love Liz Phair. That's so interesting about her top hit because like this one kicks ass. Supernova is so killer. And then, you know, Why Can't I is it's good. You know. I know I probably make some people upset, but that's my opinion. I think
it was a
Supernova
top
is the
40 hit.
best.
It hit number 32. Why can't I? And 78 for Supernova. I love both songs. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking Why Can't I?
Yeah.
But Supernova, I was a different age in 1994. That song hit differently back then.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Well, we are now back to you for track 6. We got the second half of side B. We're picking up the energy a little bit here. Where do we go?
Yeah. You Ought to Know by Alanis Morissette.
Of course. Yes.
Had to do it. Had to do it. That's my favorite song of the 90s. That one and Seether. It's just like, I don't know what happened there, but she struck gold emotionally there. Well, and financially.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Banger.
Some guy named Flea playing bass on the track. The lead
cool.
single from, I'm going to call Jagged Little Pill a masterpiece. Is that okay? Do you agree?
100%. Yeah.
Absolute masterpiece. Number 6 on the Billboard US Hot 100, as well as on the Canada Top Singles chart. Given Alanis is from Canada, I'm actually shocked it didn't chart higher in Canada, but it also charted in the UK, Europe, Australia, and several other countries. I mean, Weird Al put his stamp on it on the alternative polka from the Bad Hair Day album. And when Weird Al acknowledges the song, you know it's gold. I had the chance to catch the Jagged Little Pill tour in 1996 at the Raleigh Civic Center in
No
Raleigh,
way.
North Carolina. If my memory serves me correct, the venue held about 1,000 people at the time. And this was 1996. people would mosh to anything. People would mosh to Blues Traveler around this time. and the lineup was Loud Lucy and Alanis Morissette. And in the 90s, I was in pits from bands from Metallica to Green Day. And I never saw carnage like I saw at that Alanis Morissette pit. I was getting kicked in the face, bodies flying everywhere. It was complete insanity. This song had just exploded. The crowd, I think they oversold it. It was just a sea of people. You couldn't move around, but when you did, it was the most violent show I'd ever been to in my life. And in hindsight, it's also bittersweet because it was the first time I got to see Taylor Hawkins of the Foo Fighters on drums because he was Alanis' touring drummer at the time. So
Yeah.
a staple of the 90s. I think people would be yelling at us if we didn't include this song. So
For sure.
I love it.
Yeah. Okay.
So now I'm going to go with something that's going to pivot a little bit here because we've been talking a lot of the alternative, a lot of the heavier stuff. And there's a voice that I feel like deserves to be on this playlist, but it's not alternative, but it certainly rocks because when I think about rock voices of the 90s, this song originally didn't catch fire in the US for this artist. However, after Come to My Window became a hit, the song was re-released and peaked higher, reaching number 8 on the Billboard US Hot 100 and number 1 on the Billboard US Adult Contemporary chart. Also hit number 12 in Canada, making it Melissa Etheridge's biggest hit. I'm going to go with I'm the Only One. If you want to hear an incredible Melissa Etheridge story, episode 55, the Ultimate Modern Blues Rock playlist with Jax Hollow, as she talks about her show opening for Melissa at the Ryman Ornatorium. It's a really cool story. This was a time in 90s radio where the radio was a musical smorgasbord. You can have Melissa Etheridge followed up by The Breeders, followed up by 10,000 Maniacs, followed up by Sheryl Crow, followed up by Mazzy Star. That was 1993 for you. And yet it all worked. They all fell together into this category of just rock. So yeah, it feels weird putting Melissa Etheridge after Alanis because it's blues rock. But for some reason in the 90s, radio was just like all encompassing and it just, everybody fit in and it was a beautiful moment in music. And I feel like this song just has to be there.
Yeah. This is an incredible song. The vocal take and performance of that whole thing, like, especially that chorus, unreal. So good. One of my favorite songs.
Well, following that up, we've got only a few left here. 3 left.
3 left. Yeah. I picked a little subdued one. Mazzy Star, Fade Into You.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Taking it down a notch.
Yeah. Gotta take it down, because we're like bam, bam, bam. Gotta put a little slow one in there, This song is another timeless one. It's amazing. I love it. Vocal take is just like, it just sits in my ears so perfectly. Every time I hear it, I just feel calm and great. So yeah.
Is it wrong to call it like sultry? I just feel like there's just such a beauty to the vocal performance on this track. And once again, number 44 on the Billboard US Top 100, not a top 40 hit. How is that humanly possible? The United States got it wrong.
Yeah.
This should have been a number 1 hit. This is a snapshot of 1993 like no other. And I just mentioned it with Melissa Etheridge as being part of that group of female artists that were all on the radio at the same time. How was this not bigger?
I don't know. It's crazy. It's so crazy. What's massive and what's not, even still today. I don't get it.
Well, I'm going to go 1 year later for my last song pick of the night. And I'm going to go with a name that, like some of the others we've talked about tonight, I feel like we'd be doing a disservice if we don't bring to the conversation. And this song reached number 1 on the Billboard US Alternative Airplay chart and topped the charts in Australia, Zimbabwe, Belgium, France, Germany, Denmark, and Iceland. Similar to the Veruca Salt cover we talked about at the beginning of the night, in 2017, Bad Wolves recorded a gender-flipped cover that would go on to be a hit version as well from 1994's No Need to Argue, The Cranberries' Zombie. Dolores O'Riordan was supposed to sing on Bad Wolf's version, but sadly passed before that collaboration took place. Her, along with Sinead O'Connor, I would say, were two of the most recognizable voices of the 90s, where as soon as you heard a song, you're like, oh, that's the Cranberries. And God, she'll forever be missed. Her voice was just such a force.
Yeah.
And this song means so much to so many people, and it just invokes a joy. Even though the song is alternative and dark and heavy, people just gravitate to this song.
Yeah.
And it just captures your attention and never lets go. I got to give a shout out to Patreon mixtaper Seeker, who chimed in from Australia with this one as well. Just a perfect song.
It is. It's weird. It's one of those songs that like unlocks something in you that you didn't know was there. Like, I don't know. It's just a bunch of different emotions, like all wrapped into one. And then for some reason you end up screaming the chorus every time, no matter where you're at. So it's a great choice.
Well, thank you for that. And Emily, you have the pleasure or fear. You have to close out the night. We've been talking about so many amazing artists tonight. What do you think is going to put the final stamp on our 90s female rock playlist this evening?
I had to go with PJ Harvey, Down by the Water.
Nice.
One of my favorites. Another timeless one. I love that song. That's another one that's a vibe, like you said. You put it on and you just feel a certain type of way. Like, all of the instrument, the recording is like so cool. Every little thing that they put in there, all the production stuff is awesome. And PJ Harvey's just, one of my favorites.
Absolutely incredible. Once again, showing my age here, snapshot of my senior year in high school. Reached number 2 on the Billboard Modern Rock Tracks chart, number 84 on the Australian Singles chart, number 78 on the Canadian RMP Top 100, number 38 on the UK Singles chart, and number 28 on the Irish Singles chart. Worldwide hit. Shout out to Patreon mixtaper Ben from the Too Vague podcast, who also chimed in with this one, which Brandon from Virginia echoed, calling it fantastic and haunting. And I couldn't agree more. A perfect way to close out this eclectic and diverse 90s female rock playlist, which side B kicked off with Republica's Ready to Go, Garbage's Number One Crush, Elastica's Connection, Veruca Salt's Volcano Girls, Liz Phair's Supernova, Alanis Morissette's You Oughta Know, Melissa Etheridge's I'm the Only One, Mazzy Star's Fade Into You, The Cranberries' Zombie, and PJ Harvey's Down by the Water. Head over to myweeklymixtape.com to hear all the songs we've discussed in this mix through the playlist embedded on the episode page. Now, Emily, we've talked a lot about the Blowback in this episode, but like I said at the beginning, this album's reached its 1-year anniversary now. So could you maybe fill the listeners in on where things stand currently for album number 4?
Yeah, I right now I'm working with a producer named Gavin Brown. He's done all the Metric records and like a ton of rock records. And I met him through a mutual friend and we're writing together. And like I mentioned before, like now that I've done a record completely on my own, I'm ready to kind of see what else is out there. And Gavin seems to be kind of unlocking some things in my songwriting that it's been really exciting. So yeah, I'm writing new stuff and getting ready for a big 2025.
If you could tease it compared to the Blowback, where does the vibe go? Where do you go musically? Where do you feel like right now the songs are heading?
Gosh, honestly, it's like a mix between Veruca Salt and Tom Petty is where it's at right now. That's kind of the vibe that I'm picking up. But it's interesting because I'm writing lyrics first, which I've never done before, but it's an experiment. And so it's cool though. It's exciting. I'm stoked.
Well, Emily, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me on My Weekly Mixtape.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been so fun. Great mixtape.
I couldn't agree more. And remember, you can find My Weekly Mixtape on almost all the social media haunts at My Weekly Mixtape. You can also head to myweeklymixtape.com to check out the full catalog of My Weekly Mixtape episodes. And if you like what you're hearing on the show, you can help me out by either telling a friend, leaving the show a 5-star review wherever you're tuning in, or becoming a Patreon mixtaper at patreon.com/My Weekly Mixtape. There you can enjoy ad-free episodes of the show, chime in on upcoming topics, become a future guest, and so much more. That's all for this week. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, enjoy the tunes.
The Kimi Kato Show, featured on Pantheon Podcasts.
The Kimi Kato Show is a weekly exploration of Japanese pop culture in all its facets. Kimi and Jeremiah, as hosts, delve into various aspects of Japanese culture, including music, food, fashion, and film, offering listeners a comprehensive and entertaining look at what makes Japanese pop culture unique and intriguing. It is your invitation to Japan.
Hey everybody, I'm Dan.
I'm Doug. We're in the band Hoobastank.
Hi, I'm Takato Miyake, working for Suntory Global Spirits.
Hello, I'm Sincere from Yusenke.
Hello guys, this is Masata Kumi.
This is Chris Hart.
Hi, I'm Sugizo. You are listening to Kimi Kato Show. Thank you.
Kimi Kato Show is brought to you by Evolve Entertainment Network, Pantheon Podcasts, and Radio Candy Media.